Recently, one of my old childhood friends felt that the burden of life was too much to bear, and he felt that his existence needed to be ceased. Right? I don't want to say the word. I don't want to. YouTube doesn't like that, and I want to talk about that. A friend of mine, a mutual friend of mine that knows this person, we were discussing it and reflecting, and the comment was made that a lot of people make in these types of situations, and it was a surprise that this person did what they did. It's like, oh, like I can't believe that person did that. It's not like them. It's almost out of their character. I said, I believe it. I believe it. And I think it's almost a failure sometimes of society and us as individuals when we believe that anybody is so strong or so capable or has such a grip on life that it can never be so much of a burden or so heavy that the suffering can ever be so much that they can no longer handle it. I think it's a failure. It's a failure because when people are going through hard times, if they're under the impression that everyone thinks that they're incapable of going to the lowest of lows and going to those extremes, they probably don't want to express it. They may feel embarrassed, they may feel conflicted, they may not, or they just simply will not feel comfortable to express that. And when people are at the lowest of lows in life, sometimes it's just a simple conversation. Sometimes it's just knowing that it's okay for things to be rough. But when someone has these expectations and they feel like everyone perceives them as having to be at the peak of all time, always have control, always have a handle on life, always being so strong, it makes it hard. It makes it hard to reach out for help. It makes it hard to hold on because you feel like you're alone. Most people are very optimistic about human potential. You can do anything, you can be anything you want, you can overcome anything, but the same is true the other direction. Human potential goes all ways. And so if we can acknowledge that someone can be super happy and do super well, then we also have to acknowledge that people can be super depressed, super in a state of struggle. We can't be so oblivious to think that anyone is incapable of going in literally any direction in life. And by holding that potential in our mind, I think it will allow us to be better prepared as a collective, in society, as a civilization, as human beings, to be able to assist and sometimes take the burdens off of people that are experiencing just a little bit too much and sometimes way too much. To think that someone's that strong is like to think that if a car was dropped on somebody, that somehow, some way they should just be able to bear it and hold it up. To think that if you drop a house on somebody, that they won't collapse, that somehow they'll make it through. Some burdens are hard to persevere, particularly alone. Now, I'm not saying that having conversations with people or going out of your way to try to inquire into someone's struggles is going to be the one thing that changes it all and puts them right back on a proper track to kind of get a grip on life, to manage life properly. I'm not saying that. In most cases, there's nothing that you as an individual can do. You know, when I was maybe 10 years ago, I went to sleep early this one night. I woke up and I saw a text message from a friend of mine. And she messaged me at like 2 a.m. in the morning. She's like, "Hey, Adrian, are you awake? Can you come out?" And I obviously was sleeping. I didn't see this till the morning. And then I messaged back saying, "Hey, sorry I went to bed early. What's up?" Didn't hear nothing back for the rest of that day. Well, the following day, I had found that she had passed. And it wasn't an accidental passing, right? If you know what I'm saying. So, I didn't hold guilt from that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Part of me was thinking, I could have, if I only was awake when she had messaged me, I probably could have saved her, or I probably could have had a conversation with her, or provided some relief or a space for her to vent. That the thought went through my mind, but I know better than to hold that guilt and take responsibility for someone's outcome. But nonetheless, it goes through your mind. And it's very possible that even if I was awake, I might have just said, whatever it is, it's not that important. You know, it's possible. I might have just been like, I'll respond the next day. You know, I think the challenge is we all have our responsibilities in life. It's sometimes hard to look at other people and have to be concerned about the possibility they may act on to extreme levels. It's hard to do that. And I'm not saying anybody should, but I do think that we should acknowledge and actively be aware that life is complex. The human experience is complex. The human condition is complex. Just living in society requires a significant amount of mental effort and in being able to handle a certain level of stress. And sometimes it gets hard. Sometimes it gets hard. You know, to live a life, it requires being financially on top of things, having your habits and routines in check, being accountable to people. And sometimes the stress and the struggles and the burdens of life, they can crush people. Doesn't matter if they have their finances in check, how much money they're making. It doesn't matter how much love and relationships they have around them. It doesn't matter how happy they are with their career. It doesn't matter how much they genuinely smile and genuinely seem full of joy when around you. When you're by yourself, sometimes it's different. Someone can have absolutely, seemingly everything appearing to be going great in their life, and they can still feel crushed under the burden and the weight of life. The gravity is just too much. And I think it's important as a society that we make it less taboo for men in particular, but for human beings in general, to speak openly about their emotional struggles, to speak openly about times where we feel weak, we as human beings, where we feel like we just don't know where to turn, or we don't know how to handle a situation, or we have thoughts in our minds that are completely covering and overshadowing the rest of our lives, to where it interrupts our lives, to where it feels unbearable. When it comes to the human mind, the human consciousness, something feeling unbearable and actually being unbearable, it's experienced as the same thing. Feeling something is too much and it actually being too much can feel like the same thing when you're the person going through it. So specifically men, but people in general, we have to make it more commonplace to open up and talk and not feel like we're embarrassed or less than, or that if we bring up certain struggles at work that we won't be able to progress because we opened up about our emotions. As much as we like to think that society is getting to the point where it's okay to open up. Yeah, it's okay to open up on YouTube. It's okay to open up on TikTok and Instagram. But when you're actually involved in society, you have jobs and responsibilities, and you're the head of a family, you're the breadwinner, you're the manager at a company, it's still not okay to open up in those situations. As much as we like to think it is, in practice, there's still consequences for just expressing one's reality, one's own truth about the emotional maybe challenges they're going through. And so my thought here, my message that I've been reflecting on is to never think that anyone is above being unable to carry the burden of life. To never think that that is out of somebody's character to feel that the burden is too much and they want to end it. To make it clear, I'm not advocating for those extreme measures. I'm not supporting it. I'm not trying to give people any ideas, but I just want people to acknowledge that this is a part of life. It's a reality. Every year, millions of people wave that final flag and say it's too much. It happens. So it's a failure of society or as individuals to not acknowledge that and not be aware that that's happening. Because just like we often just kind of ignore that homelessness is a problem, for men, for women, for human beings all over the world, life itself, the circumstance in life is a problem. And it becomes too heavy to bear. We can't ignore it. It has to be acknowledged. I'm just putting it out there to reflect on, and I hope maybe you do some reflection too, because I think that it's a topic that I'm not saying needs to be talked about more publicly, but as individuals, we should understand that it exists, and people we know and love may be going through some hard times, and just being open to just having discussions sometimes. The more something is a taboo, the less willing people are to talk about it, and the less people are that are experiencing the circumstance of that taboo from being able to express themselves and feel comfortable sharing and venting and just finding relief. So that's all I have to say about this topic. I'm not quite sure how to end the video, so I just want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.